Hey everyone, I am coming to you with a bit of holiday season creativity. And it's a bit weird because the idea just hit me this morning as I was going through and doing my holiday routine, which is not really a routine. But anyway, that doesn't matter. My point here is I started to go, what might the classic Night Before Christmas story look like reinterpreted for today? So, one of the things that I had to do is a bit of research because I really didn't recall the actual name of the story. In fact, A Visit from St. Nicholas, as you can see here, is the original name of the story. So a little bit of background, a little bit of research, which made me go, okay, cool. Now, how might that look in modern language? And so this was one of those things where I went, now here's an opportunity to show the power of generative AI tooling. So this is one of the outputs that I'm still working on, but I wanted to share this with you from the standpoint of where these creative tools can take you just in a very simple and easy to approach fashion. So more to follow. I'm going to cut and move over to some of the actual output that I've generated so far. So here's Descript, and this was my first pass, literally just taking the raw script and putting it into the tool to see how Descript did it. I'm not going to bore you with a full recording, but what I will do is I will back this up and run the timeline just so that you can kind of hear how this first pass worked out. And it's kind of funny for me because I was like, oh, okay, well, this is not bad. So
It was the night before.
as you can tell by that audio, the avatar and the voice don't necessarily match up, which led me to coming this direction. And, this is one of those things. And so I did use another tool, which allows me to generate AI avatars called Audiate from TechSmith. And so I'm going to put a pause on this real quick and flip over to that interpretation. So this one is a little bit better than the first, and I'm going to play the audio so that you can kind of hear how this starts. And of course, Descript gets better at the way it does post-production. Now, the interesting thing about this that I found was that I was actually dropping some audio. I don't know if you caught that up here, and it's asking me to regenerate the audio, which this could completely go off the rails. So what this started with is the audio and the script being generated by Audiate, TechSmith tool. Then I brought it in to do the actual work in Descript, where I thought it was going to be a straight one-to-one translation, but it didn't go that way. So that's the reason why this break in audio occurred. And of course, this is AI tooling, so nothing is perfect. And especially if you're transferring between platforms and applications, it's probably not going to work out the way you had thought. I'm going to iterate on this a little bit more, but I wanted to at least give you a behind the scenes look at a bit of creative application of AI tools so that your imagination could be sparked during this holiday season. And this is really based on my previous post on social media about using AI tooling to your advantage, especially if you've got a little bit of experience on you. So hope you enjoy this. Looking forward to seeing your feedback. Take care. More to follow on this particular evolutionary topic of using AI tools to generate some cool and entertaining stuff. In the previous clip, I showed how I was working between Descript and Audiate. And so I am back at Descript with the second version of this revised Night Before Christmas tale with a more modern technology faced tinge. So I already queued up the kind of the initial prompts, uploaded the file, put my script in as it was written out by Perplexity originally. So this is the next step. And I wish there was a way to get this better framed on the screen. But clearly, we're just not going to get there from here. Bit of a limitation. Love Descript. If you're watching this, I'd love to see this window be a bit more flexible between the prompt, the actual video output, and the script. Having a nice slider over here would be super helpful to expand or contract that. Anyhow, so I've got this set up, and Underlord is actually asking me what the next steps I want to take are. So I think I want to do some AI generated graphics. Let's do some AI generated B-roll to include next to certain verses. So I'm not going to bore y'all with the generation process on this particular prompt. I'll pause it and I'll pick back up once we've got something to look at as far as this B-roll generation is concerned. All right, so I'm going to roll this. I've already previewed it a little bit. Disappointing output. As I said while the video was rolling, a bit of a disappointed output. So I'm probably going to have to roll back to the start and figure out a different way of doing this because I'm not getting the desired outcome that I want. I'm doing this, of course, to show you that oftentimes AI tools, if you've ever used them, you already know this, don't give you the outcome that you want the first time. So this is definitely me experimenting and adapting and learning from the things that are not working. So more to follow. I'll resume this once I've had a chance to reset. All right, we're going back to just a straight video edit. And I do want to point out, to do scripts credit in many of the generative artificial intelligence products and platforms out there, Underlord is a beta product, or I should say beta functionality in the Descript product. So I can't in good conscience criticize some of the outcomes that I've achieved thus far, because as a guy who works in product development, I know beta doesn't work the first time out, and that's okay. So I'm going to take and click this, which is going to start the video editing process. We'll see where we get. I'm going to pause for right now, and we'll pick it up once it's had a chance to go through that first pass. So before I do that first pass, I wanted to point out that I've changed the layout pack as well as chosen generative art for this first pass. We'll see how Underlord does this first time around. All right, so what you're seeing on the screen right now is Underlord is doing the processing of the video that I uploaded. Just to give you an idea, what it's actually doing is it's going through step by step that plan that it outlined. And so it's applying different things, and you can see certain things populating in the script. So, and this is interesting. So it's like doing a cyberpunk thing for the title, and it's already deleted a couple of words. So I'm going to be curious as to how this works out. Again, this is generative AI. And so one of the things that I strongly advise in using generative AI tools is always keeping a human in the loop. Okay, now you're seeing a little bit more of this processing. So it's bringing in a stinger. Oh, there we go. Cyberpunk Santa Christmas Eve. That's kind of cool, although it didn't actually apply the format that I wanted. So that's going to be an adjustment to make it more Christmassy in the theming. This human in the loop concept, it works, not just when these models are being trained. It also works when you're using models with creative tools. There are certain things that, by the time this gets completed, I'm still going to have a bit of a post-production investment involved in all of it to get it just the way that I would prefer. It's where the tools are at. They're not bulletproof. They're definitely not, 100% error proof. They're error prone at this stage. The main thing though is that it helps me unlock creative capability fairly quickly that would normally take me in just months and in years past, hours and potentially days to do on my own. So these tools have greatly increased my productivity. And since this is a pretty simple, straightforward project to process, it's a good opportunity for me to pull back the curtain a little bit and show you what the possibilities and capabilities are in the tools today at the end of 2025. So you can see that it's continuing to do the processing. Underlord's really a good generative AI tool. I think it's a combination of probably a number of different models or agents running in the background that are executing the different steps in the plan. I'd have to talk to Descript about that and kind of get behind the scenes and see what their secret sauce is. Always interested in that. So Descript, if you want to get me on a product call and just kind of give me a high level architectural overview of what kind of generative models you are using. I know large language, certainly image generation models as well. The tool chaining involved, there's certain that there is an amount of lang chain going on in the background for all of my software development nerds out there. This is great stuff. This is the future and where it's headed. And, Underlord seems to be processing things pretty well at this point. And I'm not going to bore you with more commentary on this. We'll just wait for some sort of finished outcome so that I can go back and review it and kind of play it through for you. All right, we're back. Underlord has finished its first pass. Let me just point out before we even get started, San Nicholas, I think it was originally Saint Nicholas in the initial script. And I might have jacked that up in Audiate, not paying close enough attention, just trying to speed through this process. But I'm going to play this for you just to give you a little bit of a taste as to how well it did. Clearly, like I said, the theme pack didn't get applied, which is unfortunate, but hey, it happens sometimes. So here's some audio for you. So there we have it. Getting better. Getting better than 2 prior passes. I blew away the upload that I did previous to this one because it wasn't going to go anywhere. This one is better overall than the first 3. Still not quite the way I want to see it. I probably won't fiddle around with this too much. I may just post kind of the original without all of the fun stuff in addition to these clips, because I think they really do have value and they show not only the capability, but the limitations of where tooling is today. And, it's good to know because this is a benchmark in time and things are only going to get better from here. All right. I'm going to give you the original Audiate clip with the script that was generated from Perplexity. So the avatar runs through that really quickly, very nicely and easily. You can see that everything is really consistent. Following that, I'm going to give you the done is better than perfect Descript clip so that you can compare the two and see what the differences are when the Audiate clip was imported to Descript and how Descript and Underlord kind of, didn't necessarily interpret it the correct way, the right way, the way I would have preferred.
It was the night before Christmas, when all through the smart home, not a laptop was whirring, not even a phone. The stockings were hung by the flat screen with care, in hopes that son, Nicholas, soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while TikTok and Discord still danced in their heads, and Mom in her hoodie and Dad in his cap had just doom-scrolled their feeds, then put down their apps. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, Dad sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window he flew like a flash, tore open the blinds and unlatched the sash. The streetlights were shining on new-fallen snow, giving lustre of midday to houses in a row, when what to his sleep-blurry eyes should appear but a compact self-driving sleigh and 8 cyber reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, he knew in a moment it must be Saint.Nick. More rapid than Uber his reindeer they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Pixel and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Router and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away all, but as drones that before winter storm winds will fly. When they meet with an obstacle, soar to the sky, so up to the rooftop the reindeer they flew, with a sleigh full of gadgets and Saint Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling Dad heard on the roof the tapping and clinking of each little hoof. As he silenced his smartwatch and turned back around, down the smart fireplace Saint Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in tech wear, from head to his boots, and his jacket was flecked with some ashes and soot. A bundle of presents he'd slung on his back looked more like a courier with next-day air pack. His eyes, how they twinkled! His laughter so merry. His cheeks were like selfies with bright filter cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up in a grin, and his beard was as white as fluorescent snowspin. A Bluetooth earpiece sat snug in his ear, and the glow of his smartwatch was perfectly clear. He looked at his tablet and scanned all his lists, then nodded, confirming no child had been missed. He spoke not a word, just went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a smirk. He placed down a console, a book and a drone, some art sets and headphones and a new smartphone. Then, touching the side of his nose with a wink, he tapped on his watch and was gone in a blink. Up the chimney he rose with a whisper of light, like pixels that fade from a screen in the night. He leapt to his sleigh, gave his reindeer a call, and away they all flew past the ring cams on walls. But Dad heard him exclaim as he soared out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." It was the night before Christmas, when all through the smart home, not a laptop was whirring, not even a phone. The stockings were hung by the flat screen with care, in hopes that Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while TikTok and Discord still danced in their heads. Mom in her hoodie and Dad in his cap had just doom-scrolled their feeds, put down their apps. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, Dad sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window he flew like a flash, tore open the blinds and unlatched the sash. The streetlights were shining on new-fallen snow, giving lustre of midday to houses in a row, when what to his sleep-blurry eyes should appear but a compact self-driving sleigh and 8 cyber... With a little old driver so lively and quick, he knew in a moment it must be Saint.Nick. More rapid than Uber his reindeer they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Pixel and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Router and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away all, but as drones that before winter storm winds will fly. When they meet with an obstacle, soar to the sky, so up to the rooftop the reindeer they flew, with a sleigh full of gadgets and Saint Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling Dad heard on the roof the tapping and clinking of each little hoof. As he silenced his smartwatch and turned back around, down the smart fireplace Saint Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in tech wear, from head to his boots, and his jacket was flecked with some ashes and soot. A bundle of presents he'd slung on his back looked more like a courier with next-day air pack. His eyes, how they twinkled! His laughter so merry. His cheeks were like selfies with bright filter cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up in a grin, and his beard was as white as fluorescent snowspin. A Bluetooth earpiece sat snug in his ear, and the glow of his smartwatch was perfectly clear. He looked at his tablet and scanned all his lists, then nodded, confirming no child had been missed. He spoke not a word, just went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a smirk. He placed down a console, a book and a drone, some art sets and headphones and a new smartphone. Then, touching the side of his nose with a wink, he tapped on his watch and was gone in a blink. Up the chimney he rose with a whisper of light, like pixels that fade from a screen in the night. He leapt to his sleigh, gave his reindeer a call, and away they all flew past the ring cams on walls. But Dad heard him exclaim as he soared out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
All right, you've been able to see both of these clips in action now. So, can you pick up some of the subtle changes that went on with the Descript translation of that Audiate media file? I hope you did. It's worth noting, AI to AI tools, certainly there's going to be stuff that goes on in the background that I can't account for, you can't account for when you're using these things. But at the beginning of the end, this was all about the experimentation and adaptation, and to kind of show you that it is a lot of work and you've got to be diligent and be willing to invest the time to get an outcome that you're happy with. And as you can see on my whiteboard, and maybe that's a little bit blurred out, done is always better than perfect. Don't wait for perfection, finish it, ship it, and then you're going to get the feedback that you need to make it better the next time. Hey, thank you for watching this entire video as I walk through the use of TechSmith tools in addition to Descript. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. Take care. And this is another Tim Unscripted in the Box.